Hello, welcome to Communication 300 Group Communication Project. Here we will be discussing cultural studies, cultivation theory, and uncertainty reduction theory in relation to social anxiety. The following slides were prepared by Denrique Prudhomme. Throughout the next several slides, we're going to discuss how humans share symbols and create meaning in the form of cultural studies. Throughout these slides, we are going to study the relationships between political, economy, and culture, as well as the mundane and the popularity of culture. One of the most important definitions that we come by here are that of cultural studies, which can be loosely defined as an academic field of study that crosses disciplinary boundaries. Common areas of understanding in cultural studies include the creation of cultural studies, key issues, language and signification, text and audience, ideology and hegemony, identity and subjectivity, methodological approaches, and cultural studies and communication. The major topics that we study in cultural studies are going to be terrorism, poverty, immigration, and racism, with a couple of subtopics beneath those. Of the 7 contexts of communication, the most closely related to cultural studies is the 7th, intercultural communication. Intercultural communication is defined as the process of interaction between people from different cultures. A more in-depth look into cultural context explains how people from different countries and cultures behave, communicate, and are perceived globally. All aspects of this communication deals with various cultural contexts, also referring to religion, race, geography, age, sex, and gender. The cultural context of communication in the workplace in regards to interculture include religion, race, geography, age, sex, and gender. And you'll find this in virtually every workspace. So employees consisting of various cultural contexts must interact efficiently and effectively to achieve their common goals. However, a lot of the cultural perceptions are going to hinder interaction. The 4 prevalent themes of intercultural communication in the workplace are cultural difference, face negotiation, uncertainty and anxiety, as well as accommodation process. Behaviors that indicate positive intercultural communication may include people who have vast knowledge of other cultures, cultural intelligence, appropriate verbal and nonverbal behavior being witnessed, as well as behaviors between these cultures that are leading to desired outcomes within the business. Some of the common issues experienced with intercultural and interpersonal communication in the workplace include gender discrimination, racial discrimination, sexual harassment, and more commonly today, religious discrimination. Up next, we're going to examine the organizational communication bridges in the workplace. The communication performances that we examine in the workplace include ritual performances, passion performances, social performances, political performances, and enculturation performances. The standard interaction between people in the workplace will cause you to see cultural adaptation, where the people from these different cultures will integrate together and become more familiar with each other's cultures. Looking into the most diverse workplaces, you will see different ethnicities, races, age groups, sex and gender, religions, cultural beliefs, and values all working together for one mission. The following slides relating the uncertainty reduction theory to the social anxiety disorder were prepared by Jennifer Wynn. The best way into understanding the uncertainty reduction theory is to look at it as follows. A lot of times when we meet new people, we tend to feel anxious. The sensation can be that we are in a new situation, environment, or simple, we are curious as to what the new person feels about us. Now, the uncertainty reduction theory focuses on why we feel anxious in our interactions with strangers and in our day-to-day interpersonal relationships. More simply put, the uncertainty reduction theory can be described as the uneasy feeling or uncertain feeling you have when you meet someone new. The two types of the behaviors that we're going to examine are cognitive and behavioral. Cognitive is describing the uncertainty when you are worried about what other people are thinking about you, whereas behavior is when you're trying to explain or predict someone else's actions when you don't actually understand them yourself. There are four types of anxiety we're going to talk about. Standard anxiety and uncertainty are normal now and again. Anxiety disorders are classified as mental illnesses and cause intense distress. Social anxiety disorder causes an overwhelming self-consciousness over social interactions, and social phobia causes one to always be uncertain about being judged and ridiculed. The process of reducing uncertainty simply involves the anxiety before the meeting, understanding the meeting, and post thoughts of the meeting. Simple interactionism such as a head nod, a smile, or even solid eye contact can give nonverbal warmth and help reduce uncertainty. The stages of initial interaction include the entry stage, the personal stage, and the exit stage as shown below. In regards to information-seeking behaviors, something as simple as how many questions somebody asks us or the amount of information they want will help us to reduce anxiety by letting us know that they want to know us better. Reciprocity is when both parties are sharing equal amounts of information. This variable is very important when reducing uncertainty. The final variable of this theory, liking, is the most important, which will reduce all uncertainty and let you know that you are good to go. Uncertainty is common in many situations, and there are a couple of takeaways from this. First off, it's linked to anxiety, but eventually this will pass. Secondly, this does not take into account every single situation, so that you can't judge everything based off of this theory, but it is a very good basis for understanding uncertainty. The following slides are brought to you by Carl Sisko. People experience cognitive dissonance when they hold two or more elements of knowledge that are relevant to each other but inconsistent. The remainder of this theory will be discussed in the form of a story as follows. Carl is Boomsticks Corporation's risk manager. One day, the senior management team requests that Carl update a copy of the risk management plan for the next board meeting. So, Boomstick's primary business is producing explosives that are purchased by mining and drilling companies. When Boomsticks is finished producing TNT, they store it in a warehouse section of their manufacturing plant. When reviewing Boomstick's current plans and procedures that involve making sure the warehouse is climate controlled and fire extinguishers are kept near every exit, he realizes that the current plan is inadequate for the risks involved with storing explosives. One of the largest risks which involves explosion, which could destroy Boomstick's manufacturing equipment and injure or kill employees working on site. Carl decides to make recommendations to close down the warehouse and build vented storage igloos that are separated from each other in uninhabited areas of Boomstick's worksite. There would be a large expense, but any explosion would be contained and operations would be free from any impact. Carl decides to adhere to his manager's request and submit his plan stating the company will maintain fire extinguishers near every exit in the warehouse. This creates dissonance which conflicts with Carl's values relating to reducing any potential loss of life. In order to reduce his state of dissonance, Carl will choose to change his attitude. The idea that Boomsticks has avoided any explosion for years will become Carl's sentiment, reducing his dissonance created by his conflicting attitudes. Overall, this will alleviate his dissonance as he submits his unsafe risk management plan. Thank you for watching, and please feel free to stop by our discussion post and ask us any follow-up questions if you have any. Any more information for the references or sources that we use, please let us know and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.